Hello guys, this is Video Sack here. Turn that slide on. Oh my god, this is going to be a bit of a video. Thought I might as well get this video out of the way. Got my writing here so I don't forget what I was going to say. This, of course, is the 18 things to consider before buying a love doll. That is a lot. I just kind of kept on coming up with things to consider because there is a lot. Anyway, now the number one, the first thing that I think we pretty much all consider when we see the prices of these love dolls, well, the price. Because it can get pretty expensive. I mean, buying these can be buying a car. I'm dead serious. I mean, you can even get insurance with these dolls now, actually, depending on what site you go through and what kind of coverage you have. I mean, yeah, it seriously is like buying a car now. And, you can also kind of want to consider the fact, is it going to be worth it in the long run? And can you afford it? Because after all, I mean, it is expensive. It's pretty expensive for something that you're just going to be having sex with. I mean, especially if that's the only thing that you have in mind for one of these things. I mean, is it really going to be worth it? And the number two thing, the materials. Another thing to consider before buying a love doll is getting to know and thinking about what kind of material you want to be made out of. Now, typically, these days, they're made out of two materials. There's TPE, or thermoplastic elastomer. Sorry, I flipped you off there. And then the other material is a platinum-based silicone. I don't think there's many manufacturers that make the 10 cure silicone anymore. And there is a reason. It's not really as reliable. If you see one that's made out of 10 cure silicone, just don't buy it. It's not worth it. Especially compared to the platinum-based. Because the price doesn't vary much when it comes to platinum and the 10 cure silicone based. So I would just recommend you buy the platinum based. Also, you might want to get to know the pros and cons about the materials before you buy them. And number three, the size and the height. Now, of course, I haven't seen a whole lot of chunky-looking love dolls, to say the least. Although I have seen a few examples, there aren't really that many. Although there are plenty of dolls that have a big booty, a big breast, or kind of short, like up to here, or even down to your waist. I mean, depending on what you want, and how realistic of experience you want, and how tall you want them to be, depending on how easy you want one of these dolls to ride you, or whether you want them to be a bit taller and a bit more human-like, basically. I mean, that is definitely one thing to consider. I mean, especially actually looking at how tall these dolls are when you are looking into the details of the doll that you want. Because sometimes they might look a bit small and they're tall. Sometimes they might be a bit small but look tall. You know what I mean. That's one other thing you need to consider and look into. Number four, the figure or shape. I mean, just kind of like I said, there isn't a whole lot of plus size girls. I mean, that's probably something that you probably already would consider, would you? When you're buying one of these dolls, is do they have a nice figure? Are they ripped? Are they in shape? Are they kind of chubby? I mean, that's kind of probably something you already would have kind of considered, but and I'll talk a bit more about that later on because it is something that you will actually importantly want to consider actually. And number five. What do you want? A customized doll, which is more than likely the case sometimes. I mean, they have all these pre-made looking dolls, and some of them do look pretty nice, but when it comes down to it, customizing a doll tends to be kind of a better experience lots of times. What I recommend you do is that you make a doll out of pre-made parts. I mean, customized from pre-made parts, basically, that they already have a mold of. So, let's say you wanted like the look of a particular doll, but then you didn't like her hairstyle. Well, just change the hairstyle, Or if you liked the body, but then you didn't like the face. Well, just change the head, basically. Or what if you like the shape of the body, but you didn't like the skin color? Well, just kind of colorize it with a pre-made color that they have, to kind of make it that much better. But because when it comes down to it, when it comes to a completely customized doll from scratch, it is fucking expensive. Even if it's made out of TPE material, which is cheaper than silicone, you're looking at over $10,000 just for a fucking doll, just to have her fully customized by hand. And yes, they have to do it completely by hand. What they have to do is that they have to take a block of material, and then they have to, by hand, scrape it down. That is what they have to do. But if that is what you want to do, then so be it. But I recommend pre-made parts. All right. Now, number 6, shipping and handling. Now, of course, when it comes to shipping and handling, depending on how heavy or what kind of doll you're looking for and what kind of packaging it comes in, and because the packaging is also important, sometimes it's actually pretty heavy itself, let me tell you. So, that itself you want to think about, because sometimes there's a chance that you might want a little extra help depending on if you kind of live off the ground in an apartment and you have to go upstairs or have to go up an escalator or whatever to get to your apartment or house. I mean, that is definitely one thing that you want to consider, because let me tell you, when I got my Love doll from Real Doll, I had to deal with 245 pounds of package of a box that I had to deal with, and I had to figure out how to get it into my place by myself. So yeah, that's one thing you want to consider. Number 7, looking for a verified doll vendor. Now, one place that makes it easy to find a verified doll vendor is if you go on the doll forum or TDF. I recommend that place, by the way, yeah. Because it makes it a lot easier to know if a place is verified or not. Otherwise, if you're looking for a vendor that isn't on the doll forum, you're going to have to do like a forkload of information on the buyer. And whether it's a reliable vendor or not, and verified. Because if it's not, and you go to, let's say, a site that says that, it's selling a Love doll for like, $500, and it's like 160 centimeters high, you're going to have to do some research on that site before you decide to buy it. Because chances are that site's a scam. Let me tell you, it's a very real thing. I suggest you look into pretty much every site that you look up, though. Like I said in my other videos, which I suggest you watch. Anyway, number 8, storage. Now, yeah, this is one thing. This is one of the reasons why I actually didn't buy one at first for almost 2 years. And it is because when you get one of these things, you are eventually going to have a place where you need to store it and hang it on a wall somewhere. Not hang it with a noose. I mean, come on. Of course, not hang it like that. You have to hang on a hook or something. Like a screw, a set screw in a wall or something. Like kind of like in a closet or something where you can shut the door, or just anywhere in particular that's kind of hidden off, maybe. and doesn't have a whole lot of sunlight. I mean, yeah, and it takes up some space. Like it takes up some space, and that is definitely something that you need to consider. Because at first, for a couple of years, I actually didn't even have the space to put one of these things in my place. I didn't have a place to hide it or anything. So I ended up having to wait a whole another year until I actually got a different place. And I got to the point where I could actually buy one. because and I had a place where I could hide it. I mean, my God. And number 9, are you comfortable with it? With buying a love doll in general? And I think this is the part of one of the bigger issues still that kind of comes with buying a love doll is, are you comfortable with it? And it was kind of with me at first because I would think, what would people think if they saw me with this thing? Of course. Or how would your boyfriend or your girlfriend think of this if you bought one of these things? Are they comfortable with it? And that is definitely something you need to consider. But I will say this one thing when it comes to that: it doesn't matter. I mean, in a way, it does matter. Like if your boyfriend or girlfriend isn't into it and you're not comfortable with it, just don't buy it, I guess. But this is actually something that is becoming a lot more accepted in the past 10 years, especially. I mean, for one. And two, when it comes down to it, these things are just a masturbation tool, just like a dildo or just like anything else, really. That's when it comes down to it, that's basically what it is. Nothing else or less. Number 10. Should I seek advice? I mean, kind of like you're seeking advice here, I guess. Well, my answer, of course, would be yes, because, I mean, just in general, look for advice because, buying one of these things isn't the same as buying a dildo or any other masturbation tool. I mean, one, like I was just saying earlier, you have to deal with a lot of scam sites, and you have to make sure that's a verified site, and then you've also got to look into the types of materials, and then you've got to look into this, and you've got to look into that. I mean, you don't have to look into a terrible amount of information, but I would recommend you look through a site that's, has a thing of information on them, basically. Just just kind of look through a site that has plenty of information on it, basically, and just kind of read through it on all the general information that you kind of need to know about the love dolls. And just kind of do that, or just ask somebody like me who's had enough experience buying these dolls, and just asking them any question in general that you might need to know when it comes to washing them or anything like that. And number 11, does it have does it have 3 orifices? Well, yeah, most of them do. Most love dolls have 3 orifices that you can shove it into, basically. They'll have either a mouth, vagina, and ass cavity. I mean, that is, of course, unless it's a male doll, which, of course, they don't have the vagina most of the time, but, I think typically, if it's a realistic love doll, they tend to have 3 orifices. They really do, most of the time. Number 12. Can I apply makeup to these love dolls? I mean, it depends. It depends on the kind of material that your makeup that you're putting on is made out of. If it is water-based material that the makeup is made out of, that you're applying to the face of the doll, let's say, then that's okay, maybe. It won't affect it much at all. But if it's any other kind of makeup, it probably will affect the doll and its material. So yeah, just stick to water-based with pretty much everything. Number 13, cleaning. Now, like I said, another thing you want to think about is, yeah, cleaning. Because you don't want to have a bunch of bacteria in your doll, but at the same time, you don't want to have to do too much work, right? Well, let me tell you this. Lots of times, the only part of the body that you have to clean is where you're shoving it into. Always clean the part of the body that you're shoving it into. And if there's any other areas where there is excessive dirt, also clean that. But for the most part, you don't have to clean the whole body until after every about 2 months. Sometimes you can kind of push it for another month if you don't have sex with her very much. But every time you have sex with her, clean the area that you have sex with and shove your penis into her or whatever. Always clean that area every time. Wash it out of bed every time. Number 14, how much will I use the doll? And this is something that I don't think a lot of people consider when they buy a love doll. I mean, it's something I almost didn't consider myself, actually. But, when it comes down to it, when you're paying over $2,000 to, let's say, even over $6,000 to $8,000 for a high-end love doll, let's say, you've really got to ask yourself, how much do I really want this thing? How much do I really want this thing? And how much am I actually going to be using it? Because I've seen a lot of people where it's a case where they'll get one of these even high-end love dolls. They'll have sex with it maybe like a few times at the most. And then for the rest of its lifespan, it'll just sit there and collect dust. And that's it. So, I mean, before you pay up to thousands of dollars on a love doll, that is possibly the biggest thing, actually, that you will want to consider is how much are you actually going to be using it? Because you can't just have your honeymoon with this thing and then just send it back. Because especially once you've had sex with the doll, the manufacturers will not take it back. They will not. And you will not get your refund. Which sucks. And here's some extras. Here's some tips on some of the extras. Number 15. Should I get a stand for it? Now here, I'll get up and show you a stand. Now here is a stand from Real Doll. This stand costed me about $400+ to get. Now, I'm going to put it back here. Now, that is expensive, especially for a stand. Especially if you can actually even make your own, actually, out of just some makeshift pipes and screws. However, a love doll is actually considerably more easy to take care of when you get one of these stands. You don't have to get the stand, but let me tell you, it does help. Because while you're cleaning these dolls, or you're putting, whatever you need to put onto it after you clean it, it's a lot harder to do that when you don't have a stand. A lot harder. And yeah, I mean, I totally recommend it. But it is your choice because it is, unless you make one yourself and find a way to make it cheap, which even then you can spend up to at least $100 to maybe $50 to $100 making your own stand. Either way, it's going to cost money. So it's your choice. I decided to get the one from Real Doll because it is kind of a better, it is a nice stand. It is kind of the better choice. Anyway, number 16. Should I have the vaginal inserts removable or not? Now, what I do when I get my love dolls is I actually get the removable one, because if you don't, you will have to do, after you've had sex with the doll, and like I said, you have to clean every area that you shove your penis into, per se. So let's say I had sex for a vagina and it's non-removable. What I would have to do is that I would have to pick up the whole doll. I would have to put it on a couch or a chair so that she's sitting upright like I am right now. And then I would have to have, let's say, at least some towels underneath her for when I put water inside of her to clean her. And then I would have to take a brush and clean it out. I would have to take a brush and clean it out, while at the same time there's all this water coming out. And then I would have to dry it with possibly even a hand dryer, although I wouldn't do that. I would probably just use a fan to dry it. But like I said, if you don't get a removable one, you would have to pick up the whole doll just in order to clean that area, which is kind of annoying. Number 17, should I get the care package? And the care package that I basically talk about is the care package when you, let's say, are buying your first doll. And you're like, and if you could all, and they have this deal where if you can get the care package with the doll, right? And you'll have some basic cleaning tools and stuff that you might need. As far as getting the care package goes, I would say if this is your first time getting your love doll, or getting your first time getting a love doll from a certain manufacturer, I would do it. At least I would do it. Because, like I said, it's going to give you a good start on the stuff that you might need, especially if your doll comes broken and you don't have any adhesive with the doll. But if you get the care package, let's say, you'll at least have some adhesive, and if there's anything broken on the doll, you can fix it just right away, right there, right then and there. You don't have to wait another week to get some adhesive to fix it like that. That would be just bullshit. Number 18. Now the next thing, and one of the most important things you have to worry about when getting a love doll, is the weight. Like I've said before, weight is a pretty big issue, especially with how heavy some of these love dolls are. If you get a TPE love doll, they tend to vary from like 40 pounds to like maybe 70 pounds. And if you get a silicone doll, a platinum-based silicone doll, I've seen them range from 50 pounds to 120. I think even a little more than that. So yeah, to say the least, it's an issue, especially when you aren't really good with that, carrying that kind of weight. And you have to clean them, and then you have to do all of this other shit. And this is where I come back to number 4 on with the figure and shape. Because if you want, let's say, a love doll with a big booty, that is going to add like another 30 pounds to your weight issue. And it's the same with the big breast and everything. Just more added weights, like another 10 pounds of weights to a doll that's already heavy as is. And let me tell you, if you've ever lifted 120 pounds to even 80 pounds, it's going to feel heavier than that. I mean, lifting a 120-pound doll is going to feel more like lifting 150 to possibly even a bit more than that. Lifting a doll that's made out of silicone material and is like 80 pounds, she's going to feel like she's over 100 pounds when you lift her. And with that being said, I hope this video wasn't too long, and I'll see you guys later. By the way, try to also check out some of my other videos, and if you guys have any questions, just, you can ask me. I'll try to answer your question to the best of my ability. Bye.